How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the seas? And how many years?
From Lewis in a Black Horse Pub. It takes time when I fiddle around first thing in the morning. I always have ambition above reality. I click on this, and that should happen, but it never does. That's me, I'm afraid. I am not of that generation, and yet I valiantly struggle against the odds in trying to get you a decent picture. Ha! Ha! Dreamer. Good morning. Welcome to Mirador Television, the television of cock-ups, as well as intrigue and excitement. You never know what's going to happen next. And it's Monday, the something or other of May, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's Monday, the 20th. The 20th of May. It's funny, the first part of the year seems to have zipped by. May seems to be crawling by, absolutely crawling. Perhaps it's because of paydays. Who knows? Anyway, here we are, and we have the usual things here. It's just that sometimes I just don't know how to bring them in. I really don't.
Dove sail.
Oh, yeah.
Before she sleeps in the sand.
Up there.
Yes.
There we go. I've got center stage now. But there we go. Yes. That extra camera, just to give you another little perspective and to see all those wonderful bottles behind the bar. Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I haven't a clue what I've got up here. Not a clue. And I'm just going to launch into everything. But first of all, if I don't want to be on my own, I'd better send an invitation to our correspondents. Susie is up in Oban. I have no idea whether she can join us from Oban or not. It's a Scottish town. I've only been there once, but it is a wonderful, wonderful place. It sits in a sort of semicircle around the bay, the harbour, and it is very, very Scottish, very raw, but very beautiful. So that's where she is languishing for a few days. And I doubt if she's going to add to her tan. But if she is able, she'll join us. She's a real trooper. And if she can't join us, then it'll be because she's dangling over the wharf at Oban. I expect Philip is lurking in the background somewhere and will pop up at some stage during the morning. I'm sure that he'll join us for Harry, who comes along at 10 o'clock. And until then, you have to put up with nonsense from me, whatever I can find, and now that I managed to screw up the whole system. But nonetheless, we motor on. And we better take a look at the papers, because there's rather more news this morning than there has been in the last few weeks. The Daily Express leads on the least we can do, apology to blood scandal victims. There's something like 3,000 people. Is it 3,000 or more than that? The Express actually leads on the football. Manchester City setting a record fourth championship in a row. Never been done before. Right, and they are very jubilant, and so they should be. And I know, thank you. Incidentally, Ada is leaving us. I am bereft. I have no idea what I'm going to do without her. She looks after me, hand and foot. She looks after me. don't you?
I do.
Yeah,
You
eh?
have to train up the new staff, Kate.
Eh?
You'll have to train up the new staff.
Yeah. Oh, I'd much rather keep the old one.
You say to Ada never done it like that.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they'll say, "Who's this wonderful Ada?" Right. There's the Express's big story is the imminent findings of the infected blood inquiry dominate the front pages. The least we can do, the Daily Express says, a long-awaited official apology for victims of the infected blood scandal from Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. The public inquiry into the biggest treatment disaster in NHS history is due to publish its findings on Monday. That's today. He also says City's Big Four is the caption on a photo of Manchester City following their fourth consecutive win. Now, this blood scandal is, we've titled ours this morning just Bloody Sorry. And so they should be. But, it's funny, isn't it? Is if the government has to act quickly, it always does it when it's its benefit. When it's something like this, it takes years and years and years. And that's something that's going to have to change, because it's not necessarily because of bureaucracy. It's because most of the civil service is lazy buggers. They simply only do as much work as they want to. And the senior people spend more time in restaurants and at lunch than they do in the office. And since lockdown, they spent less time in the office than they ever did. Mind you, they're very quick to put up their salaries. Oh, yes. We get no delay there. Much as he's not totally popular nowadays, Boris Johnson said just before the last election, governance in Britain is not fit for purpose. There should be root and branch reform. Yes, there should be root and branch reform. And one of the first things that should be reformed is the civil service. Unfeeling, uncaring, not at all fit for purpose, but we motor on with it. And MPs sit on their backsides and yatter. I'm all for jaw and not war. And our system of debate is a good one. But not on the basis of let's have a word here and a word there until it runs into months and years. It is not the way that we should be doing business, not as a civilized country. Why we attract those sort of people to the civil service, I have no idea. But there's no need for it. Nowadays, people can do an awful lot that they couldn't in the past, but the selection process stays the same. I mean, look at the pathetic state that the BBC is in, and most of it is because of its selection policy. Talented people don't get a look in. I know because I've had a number of them work for me. The structure does not permit for talent. It only permits for those people who manage to understand the system. And that is not good enough. We worry about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and all the while it shrinks and is eroded because we don't have people with courage and conviction to stand up to those people who would put us into, yes, you use the word slavery, who keep talented people hammered down because their face doesn't fit or they're not a favorite. reform. Ah! And then it doesn't matter which leader, Sunak, or Keir. They're both as useless as each other. The first thing to do is to win back the respect of the public. You won't get everybody, but generally speaking, win back respect of the public. And that's the last thing on their agenda because they don't think it's important. Well, I'll tell you, it is. Because times are going to change. And throwing a few pennies, doing what the Romans did, a little dissent in the ranks, throw them a gladiator or two. Not on. Mirror. A report to shock the nation. After decades, justice in sight for thousands of families devastated by infected blood scandal. But why did it take so long to expose the deadly government failings? Why? Indeed. Blood on their hands, says the Mirror. Blood on their hands. Report to shock the nation. The report, says the Daily Mirror, about the scandal, asking why it took so long to expose the deadly government failings. Everybody's known the answer for years, but nobody does anything about it. There is so far that jaw will go, and then it is action that is needed. But our system works against it. Unless you're the tax man. The Daily Mail. The PM's apology for worst treatment. For the worst treatment disaster in NHS history. Like the Express, the Daily Mail predicts an apology from the Prime Minister for the worst treatment disaster in NHS history and says the report's findings will be devastating. A photo of the actress Sienna Miller attending the Cannes Film Festival with her daughter Marlo to promote her new film Horizon, an American saga, brings a touch of glamour to the paper's front. Do we really want glamour when we're talking about such serious things? Yeah, I suppose we do. I'm being an old curmudgeon. I'm always a curmudgeon. So, but the dedication of Mirador Television is that we defend to the best of our ability freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of speech, and a free media. Although I think on our hallowed streets, hallowed Fleet Street, where we ruled the world for so long, is now a pale shadow of what it was. Yeah, we've got Andrew Neil and some of the other commentators on stations like GB News, generally speaking, say boo and they fall to pieces. The Daily Telegraph, the PM's horror and regret over blood scandal. Rishi Sunak will express horror and regret over the blood scandal, according to the Daily Telegraph. It also features a photo of Sienna Miller, this time with co-star Kevin Costner, under the headline Untouchable, a nod to one of Costner's most famous films. Well, there we go. The Guardian. Now, here is something that we should all be concerned about because of the ramifications. Iranian president feared dead after helicopter crash. Helicopter came down on the border with Azerbaijan. I must confess, as I hadn't, I've never been to Azerbaijan. I've known the American ambassador there. I've trained Azeri journalists. I've spent time in the South Caucasus. But I've never actually been to Azerbaijan. And so I hadn't realized the closeness of Iran and the Azeris, as this showed, fatally showed. But of course, there will be troublemakers who will immediately smell the finger of the West in bringing this helicopter down. The Guardian leads with fears that Iran's President Ebrahim Raisi has been killed in a helicopter crash. Lower down the page, it's 4 in a row for Manchester City. Well, rightly so. They've achieved something quite remarkable, and Philip Meredith, our fearsome commentator, will be delighted. Man City is his team, and they brought home the goods, brought home the bacon. Well done. G7 allies warm to US plans of rushing funds to Ukraine as the Trump threat rises. The FT says that talks will be held next month on a loan. Goodbye, Ada. Bye, darling. It says that talks will be held next month on a loan of tens of billions of dollars to the country as it fights off Russia's invasion before Donald Trump potential return to the White House in the US elections. That's in November. A photo shows Iranians praying for their missing president. Are we still here? Yes, we are. Wow. Hello. I'm always absolutely astonished when I look at myself in the morning, just how old I've grown. Wow. I was a handsome young spud yesterday. Now look at me. But it happens to us all. It catches up with us. One thing that you can't deny is age. Let's face it. Oh no, let's go back to the papers. Yes, there will be a dramatic change of policy in the United States. And on Friday, we have a special from the United States because our correspondent, Connor Winton, who pops up from time to time, not consistent, but frequently, has been covering the Trump trial. And he is going to give us a blow-by-blow description of what has taken place and what his assessment is of it. So that's Friday, Connor Winton, sometime after probably about 10 o'clock, because it's in the middle of the night in New York, will be giving us a first-hand view and report from the Trump trial. The Metro it's just a strange one. Charlton Heston, the chef, the celebrity chef. I'm bipolar. The Metro leads with a revelation by Heston Blumenthal, one of the UK's best-known chefs, that he is bipolar. He says, it says, asking for a change in attitudes to neurodiverse people in the workplace is something that he must do. And I agree with you. It is, I bumped into my vicar the other day and I had to apologize for not turning up at church. But I pointed out that when I get ready for somewhere, it takes me twice, sometimes 3 times as long as anybody else, and it bloody hurts. Most people in the workplace don't understand, and if they do, they're dismissive of doing simple things like doing up your shirt button. It takes a long time, and the number of times you get frustrated because the button doesn't pop through the eye, through the buttonhole, and you start all over again. And each time your limbs get a little tireder. They started out being weary anyway because you're lifting, apparently, weights attached to your limbs. You try to swallow. Your mouth is so dry, no matter what you do, salves, ointments, it stays dry. You can't do a simple thing like swallow a pill, swallow anything for that matter. Those are the little things. Blumenthal undoubtedly finds people less than accommodating when his bipolar condition hits. Now, I only have a vague idea myself of bipolar. I'm just sympathetic to people in the workplace who have something wrong with them, because I do. I'm lucky. My disposition is such that I always see, at least openly, outwardly, I always see the glass half full, never half empty. But I'm sure that bipolar people find it difficult to see a good side sometimes to anything. And it's no good dismissing them. You have to try to understand, make allowances, perhaps alter the way of doing things. Well, this isn't a medical show. I'll leave it at that. My first reaction was, what the hell are they doing a headline with Heston Blumenthal being bipolar? And the more that I said it, the more I began to realize. And I must be a right pain in the bloody bum when I talk about my Parkinson's. Yes, I do use it as an excuse for some things. I can't help it. But generally speaking, I'm much more interested in trying to find some sort of solution. And my old colleague, Jeremy Paxman, is heading a group to try and do just that. And God bless them. We do our bit here. I write little articles for a local, whatever they call them, social media link. I do bits on Mirador when the mood strikes me. But they got as far as number 10 and delivered a petition. I don't expect anything much will happen to begin with. But you've got to start somewhere. And delivering a petition is not a bad start. Oh well, the Times. Labour plan for gender change to be made easier. There you go. We've just tried to take off the emphasis from gender being as important as it has been, so that it's dictated almost the way we live. And now Labour are going to put it back. You give them a little bit of nous, a little bit of commendation for starting to show some common sense, and then they go and they fill their stuff with dogma. How can I possibly trust them? It doesn't mean to say I'm going to back the Tories, but backing Labour is just as difficult and naughty. What we need is we need a Tom Paine strutting out of the ranks. That's what we need. The Eye. Revolutionary AI trial offers breast cancer hope for millions on NHS, reveals Sunak. Right. A revolutionary artificial intelligence AI trial offers breast cancer hope for millions on the NHS, the Eye paper says. It notes Manchester City's Fantastic Four. That's nothing like a little bit of juxtaposition. They say that Manchester City's team were robots. Oh, Philip, forgive me. The Daily Star, which is where it all comes from. The Daily Star. Manchester City make footy history with 4 Premier League titles in a row. My goodness, Fantastic Four. And now it's time for the better forecast. 25 degrees centigrade scorcher on the way for half-term holes. The hottest May in 150 years is on the cards. Well, we've still got 10 days in May. 10 days in May. Seems to me that there's a novel of that name. The Daily Star celebrates Manchester City making footy history under the same headline, Fantastic Four. It also looks forward to a 25 degrees centigrade scorcher for the half-term school holidays. Well. It's amazing, isn't it? What we've got. I have no idea. I've got clutter here. So I'm going to take out a few things, and if I get rid of something in the meantime that I shouldn't have, tough. Oh dear. Here we go. today is going to be 20 degrees. And that's a pretty fair old sizzler. And the sun is going to shine all day long. Ha. And it's going to slowly build throughout the morning. Right now, let's see, at 8:30, it's 13, hovering between 13 and 14, but it's going to climb to 20 at noon, or 18 degrees at noon, 19 degrees at 1300, and hovering at 20 throughout the afternoon with a gentle breeze. So a very, very pleasant day out there. We're getting a wee bit of summer, aren't we? Yes, we are. Tomorrow is we've got some scattered showers, but still some sun. And Wednesday the same. A little cooler. It's going to go down to 18 and then 17, and Thursday 16, Friday 16. It's not going to get warmer again until this time next week, when it'll hit. It'll hit 19 again. But enjoy today. 20 degrees. 20 degrees. Goodness gracious me. What I'll do is I'll go out and get a tan. Me with a tan. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I'll tell you one thing. Way back in the day, as they say, when I was 18, my very first job in the summer in Canada, where I was at university, was working on the Trans-Canada Highway in the Rocky Mountains. No way in, no way out, except by train. And working out in the open, I developed muscles that I didn't know I'd got. And I got a tan. Oh, did I get a tan? It was the healthiest summer that I ever spent. Woo! Keep your mouth shut. Stop boasting. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, and that was a long time ago, I may say. That was a long time ago. Can you imagine me bronzed and beautiful? Ooh! Age ravages the body. I have to tell you that. I must confess this. Some of these lovely film stars that look so well on the screen is I wouldn't turn an eye for in real life. It's all a figment of somebody's imagination, taking us into fantasy. Woo! Right, Gary Toynton is on. Good morning, Keith. Hope your weekend went well. Thank you, Gary. Of course, the fact is that I am very, very confined now. I can't walk terribly well. I can't go anywhere without my scooter. And on Saturday, it ran out of juice. Don't ask me why, but it did. And my co-workers, if you like, at the Black Horse are absolutely superb. They wheeled it in, plugged it in, got it going. I left it here Saturday night, and on Sunday morning, it was working again. So it wasn't an ideal weekend, Gary, but nonetheless, we managed to get through a bad day. And on Sunday, I came and had my lunch here, which I do most Sundays. And I slip off the scooter I totter into the pub. The staff make sure that my table is ready for me. I slump into the chair. I take the Times, the Sunday Times, read it while I'm eating my lunch, and away I go again. Considering that I've toured the world and done exciting things, I must say that life is very humdrum at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out what to do about it, as if running a television station isn't exciting. Wow, is it ever? Maybe not exciting. It's a challenge. I'm glad that you join us. Right, where are we? We'd better check on the time, I think. It's 8:40 exactly. Is it 20 to 9? 20 to 9. Right, okay. Let's take a little bit closer look in detail to the news. The Daily Mirror says the infected blood report will shock the nation when it's released today, right? So later today, we can expect a full report on the blood contamination scandal, which cost lives. Blood is on their hands, is the paper's headline. Well, the NHS is under fierce criticism and fire. The thing is that it's a civil service type operation, so I doubt if anything will happen. The Daily Telegraph expects the report to heavily criticize individuals and organizations. Rishi Sunak, according to the paper, apologizes for the scandal and expresses regret and horror that victims were failed by successive governments. The Guardian expects the report to recommend prosecutions, while the Times highlights persisting concerns from victims' families that a compensation scheme will take too long to set up, given the paper says that a victim of the scandal is estimated to die every 4 days. Well, exactly what I was talking about. If we don't actually reform our civil service, I mean, we won't, because once people are in positions of authority and power in these jobs, they don't let go. And why would they? You wouldn't, I wouldn't. Well, I don't think I would. I'm pretty sensitive to that sort of criticism, but civil servants aren't. The Guardian expects the report to recommend prosecutions. Yes, I've just said that. All the papers cover the search for the president of Iran. But their editions were published before news broke that the wreckage of his helicopter had been found. The Times says that if the death of Ebrahim Raisi is confirmed, elections would be held within 2 months. Considering his legacy, many of the papers note his role in the deaths of thousands of political activists in the 1980s were attributed to him. The Financial Times says Ebrahim Raisi eased long-running tensions about the extent of the power of the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Ooh. The Times reports that Labour is considering allowing a single-family doctor to sign off on gender recognition certificates. The party has been looking at ways to simplify the process, and the paper says the issue would go out to consultation if Labour won the next election. The proposals involved ditching the panel of doctors and lawyers that currently decide whether gender recognition certificates can be granted. Ministers tell the Times that Labour should allow professionals to do their job properly. The Financial Times says allies of the United States are warming to an American plan to rush $50 billion, that's $39 billion, $39 billion worth of extra funding to Ukraine. A source tells the paper that under the proposals to be discussed at a G7 summit next month, the money would be sent prior to a possible election victory by Donald Trump, who has opposed American aid for Ukraine. Rishi Sunak and the president of South Korea, Yoon Suk Yeol, write jointly in the iPaper, highlighting the potential for AI to cure diseases. The men laud a trial taking place in the UK of an AI-powered breast cancer detection system, which uses image reading software developed by a Korean firm. The paper says the Prime Minister is due to attend a virtual meeting of world leaders on AI later this week, as a follow-up to the gathering held at Bletchley Park last year. Just a note of caution. Whenever we find these miracle cures, we tend to rush in without giving it proper trials. And then when side issues crop up, everybody throws up their hands and says, oh, we didn't know that. I'm delighted, and particularly with South Korea being involved, at a breakthrough of AI. But our expert, John Prideaux, puts a note of caution into each program that he does once every other week on a Wednesday at 9 o'clock. Because there is lots we do not know about AI. And there is lots we have to learn. And there is lots we have to try out before we give it unbridled approval. So let's make sure that we put safeguards in place before we go rushing down a joyful alley of panaceas. The front and back pages picture the Manchester City squad celebrating with the Premier League trophy after Sunday's title win. Puns on a 4 successive league triumph abound. For the Daily Star, it's Euphoria. But some of the papers raise concerns. The Telegraph believes a season of reckoning awaits because of uncertainty surrounding Pep Guardiola's future at the club, and the financial case being brought against Manchester City by the Premier League. And The Guardian's Jonathan Liu says City's dominance has made the idea of a genuine title chase into a myth. See you all back here again in 12 months, he says. Right. Well, there's some caveats there before we get total rush of blood to the head. Total rush of blood to the head. It is now 9:15, and we haven't heard from Susie. I assume that she's in the Scottish Highlands having some difficulty getting through. And anyway, she's on holiday. Shouldn't we actually respect that and let the poor lady lie, much as a number of you love seeing her, and is for a very beautiful lady. She is particularly intelligent, and very insightful in her comments. So we will all look forward to having her back. I'm not sure whether she's back on Wednesday. Can't remember exactly whether she's coming back on Wednesday or whether she's back on Wednesday. But anyway, we will welcome her back with open arms and listen for her golden tones, giving us pieces of advice which are well worthwhile. In the meantime, you have to put up with me. What a prospect on a Monday morning. What a prospect. Well, there's a few things that are worth talking about. Mostly, I think, is we, according to the Star, we're going to get a heat wave. Now, we talk about the weather more than anything else. It's going to rain today. It's not going to rain today. Oh, it's a bit blowy. Oh, it's a bit cool. Oh, it's too hot. Oh, it's too cold. There is a famous scene in the movie The Magnificent Seven where the old man in the village that the cowboys, headed by Yul Brynner, have gone to protect. And he says farmers are afraid of everything. It's either too hot or too cold, too wet or too dry, too windy or too calm. And we are all like that. We are never, ever satisfied with the weather that we've got. So be prepared. We are going to have a period of warm. Little scattered rain here and there, but generally speaking, it is going to be by our terms, a blistering hot few days. Ooh, how wonderful. Well, actually, I don't find it so wonderful because I'm not a beach lover. I don't go out and lie in the sun. I'm too inactive for too long for me. My natural instinct is to be on the go all the time. I need a pad nearby. I need a pen. I need to scribble. I got tons of notes which I'll never read again, but they help sort my mind out as to what I should do next. Lying in the sun? No. What do people think about? Ooh, just the heat of the sun on their skin? No, it's pleasant enough, as long as you don't get burned. But the weather, we are never satisfied. I can imagine what Brighton Beach is going to be like. Thousands of people jam-packed, not even room enough to unwrap your cucumber sandwiches and get sand in them to make sure that it's a typical English picnic. Oh, there's nothing like an English picnic, though. Cold ham, cold tongue, pickles, pork pie, Cumberland pie, fish paste sandwiches. Fresh tomatoes, pickles. Ooh, strawberries. Ice cream if you've got a container to keep it cold. If not, pure cream. Oh, yes. The English picnic conjures up wonderful, wonderful visions. I think that it would be nice. I think it'd be nice to just play a little sting there. Let's try this one. There. That's who you're watching. Mirador Television. And one of the things that we're very proud about at Mirador, we are based in Lewes. And if there is ever a town that is the center of democracy, of freedom of speech, of openness, it is Lewes. At least was Lewes. I'm not so sure about present councils. They are very, very secretive. They believe in the cabinet system. Oh, they make a case for it. But the fact is that the cabinet system in local government puts the power in the hands of just a few. And when the power is in the hands of a few, it's very good and easy to be able to hide what you're doing. Except from people with special measures. And we've been put into special measures. That's a good comment. Nothing. They haven't made much of that. And even then, there will be caveats. Anyway, the Battle of Lewes, 1264, was a defining moment in English democracy. English democracy. The United Kingdom didn't exist in 1264. But it's the democracy that fanned the world eventually. Simon de Montfort took on the king, beat him, and won some coveted seats in Westminster. Okay, it wasn't for the general good, but the principle was established that divine right of kings no longer held sway. And anyway, King John made sure that once he'd promised to ease up on the divine right of kings, he promptly invoked it again and swallowed the whole concept. So it was a fat lot of good. It was 1264 and the Battle of Lewes, Simon de Montfort defeating Henry III, that started the spark of English democracy. And that was followed up in the late 1700s by Tom Paine, adventurer, inventor, statesman, philosopher, orator, and all without an education. But he changed the face of the world, the Western world, as we knew it. Another defining moment in Lewes that took English democracy one step further. And now there is a third, Mirador Television, that is quite fearless. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Nobody is 100% right. Nobody is 100% wrong. But our opinion is informed opinion. And we bring in distinct views from around the world and around the country and around the town. We fight for freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and we have gone down in history as recording some key moments when we have not given in to the pressures being exerted for those who would stifle freedom of speech. And nobody is worse than the wokes. There's only one thought in their thinking, and that is theirs. Nobody else has any thoughts whatsoever. And if they don't like what you think, they stamp on you. Well, not on us. Not on us. Okay. I'm going to send out a few invitations now. Harry is due at 10 o'clock, and I hope that Philip will join him, because the two of them are very potent. And what I just talked about is very key. To protecting the democratic process. Now, hopefully, she's been very ill. Hopefully, Liza Page will be back around about 10:30 or 11 with the alternative view. And we hope that she's fully recovered and in full voice. Just a reminder that on Friday, we're going to get chapter and verse from Connor Winton on the Trump trial, direct from the courtroom in New York. There's nothing like hearing it from the horse's mouth and not second or third hand. So what we'll do, I think, is we will pause for a few minutes and return in a moment or two with further programs. For the moment, toodle pip.